Hello, leadership. Here's our training topic for the week: prospecting and permission. This is pretty pivotal, and I realize that it doesn't get taught very often in bold, but it really forms the backbone or the capstone, if you will, for so many pieces, parts of our prospecting message. That could be our 60-second commercial, could be emails that we send, voicemails, anytime we want to add a product or service, or just basically use to sort out prospects from clients. So I want to jump in here real quick and give you some things to talk about this week for the prospecting or permission discussion. Now, this is based on a 30-second prospecting pitch, so much shorter than our 60-second commercials we use at networking events. Though some of the ingredients are going to be the same or very, very similar. In reality, my 30-second prospecting pitch is very often 10, 15 seconds at the most. So it's just a sorting tool. So I'm going to run through it, then I'll double back to the handout. So getting permission to share what you do versus throwing up on them and expecting them to know what you do. For example, if I'm a realtor and I introduce myself as I'm a realtor and I buy and sell houses or list and sell houses for people. We assume that everybody knows what that is, not necessarily the problems that go along with that. So with my 30-second pitch, I'm going to get permission. So let's say I meet somebody at a networking event or I'm calling on a referral. I'm going to say, is it okay if I take 30 seconds to share what I do, and you can decide if it's worth talking about or not. Or you could decide if there's anything important or relevant to you or not. So it's how we start the conversation. And then I know that if we sound like a salesperson, we run the risk of being treated like a salesperson. And you risk turning on the prospect's defense mechanisms. Oh, I've got our guy. I don't need that. I'm good. Because we sounded like a salesperson. So I want to make sure that I don't sound like a salesperson. I also assume that the person that I'm talking to doesn't need my product or service. We are sorting, not convincing. And this could even include a referral. If I get referred to somebody, let's say I'm a realtor, and I get referred to somebody that's selling a house that just said, hey, I need a realtor. I'm still going to assume that maybe they've talked to somebody else or I may not be the best fit for them. I still want to sort, not convince. And I'm going to do that by asking neutral questions, which relieve the pressure to get real answers. So let's kind of run through that a little bit more. I'm going to do an introduction. I may say, hey, I'm Robert Johnson with XYZ Realtor Real Estate Company. Right? Just a real simple intro. But if I do some kind of tagline, I'm going to sound like a salesperson. So we make houses sell fast, or we guarantee your house or sell, or we'll buy it in 30 days. I'm already sounding like a sales message. And again, assuming they don't need my products or services, and I'm going to relieve pressure. So I'm going to say, hey, I'm Robert Johnson with XYZ Realty, and I help families that may already be totally happy with their real estate situation. Right? So I'm just taking pressure off. I'm going to share some personal emotional needs because that's why people buy, because clients buy for their reasons, not your reasons. So some things I typically solve, and I'm going to customize that for my audience. So back to that scenario. I'm Robert Johnson with XYZ Real Estate. I typically get referred to people that are doing really well. They're happy with their real estate situation. But sometimes they may be frustrated with sitting on a listing for too long. Their house has been on the market, they're stuck where they're at, or maybe worse yet, they're losing sleep over the fact that they can't get into their new home until their current home sells. And lastly, they're kind of disappointed that the current listing or current situation just isn't getting things moving fast enough and they feel trapped. Right, so I'm going to give some very, very specific ideas of what problems that I solve, and I could also specify it as I just did there for a listing. If I was doing a general real estate conversation, it could have been listing, it could have been a buyer's agent, could have been commercial, and I would have had different personal emotional need statements. But you heard those compelling words in there: frustrated, concerned, disappointed. And then I'm going to stop with a compelling question at the end that's going to measure the relevance of my product or service to the prospect situation. So back to the referral, I got referred to somebody that wants to sell their house. I say, hey, I'm with a real estate company, not sure I could help or not. And then I drop into my conversation. But I want to create a conversation, not sell them a listing at the time, right? There's so much more that has to go into that. I just want to sort whether or not they're a prospect. And I want to reduce pressure by adding or not and giving them permission to say no. So kind of back to our handout here, if you will. So what are the components of an effective prospecting message? I get permission to share. Hey, is it okay if I take 30 seconds and share what I do, and you can decide if there's anything worth discussing for you or not? I drop in my personal emotional need statements, things like concerned, frustrated, worried, losing sleep, getting ripped off, sick and tired. And then I ask a neutral question at the end. I'm not sure if any of these issues are important for you or not. So, hey, is it okay if I take 30 seconds? Okay to say no. They say, yeah, sure, go ahead. What do you got? And I drop in my personal emotional need statements, and they say, is any of that worth talking about or not? So super simple, but why is permission so important? Why do I got to ask, is it okay if I take 30 seconds and share what I do? At networking events, it's assumed, because we're going around the table, you already have permission. But in a prospecting scenario, I just walk up to somebody and blast them. I call it show up and throw up. You immediately sound like a salesperson. Hi, I'm Bobby with XYZ Real Estate Company, and let me tell you why you should do business with me. We're number one, and we're the best, and sound salesy, and that triggers their defense mechanisms and also protects them, makes them kind of go into a shell, if you will, and they don't give you real answers because they don't want to be exposed to the salesperson. If you sound like a salesperson, you're going to get treated like a salesperson. And why do I say or not at the end? Is it okay if I take 30 seconds to share what I do, and you can decide if there's anything worth talking more about or not? Right? The or not is designed excuse me, to give the prospect permission to say no. It takes all the pressure off and doesn't sound salesy, and it's scientifically more effective. If you give your prospects permission to say no, they're 50% more likely to say yes. It's crazy powerful. So here's the bold takeaway at the very bottom. Mastery of your 30-second commercial focused on permission and their personal emotional needs and permission to say no is a capstone to bold. So I'm suggesting that, hey, guys, let's practice your 30-second commercial, your elevator pitch, if you will, to get permission to say it. Add personal, emotional, compelling needs that they may have, and then ask them if any of it made sense or not. Any of that worth talking about or not. If we master that, the prospecting goes up, sales goes up. Other than that, let's get out there and go. Have a great week, and I'll put together the next message for you. Thanks.